It was a beautiful, crisp evening when the words came out of his mouth. We were just days away from our 15th anniversary, and I thought everything was perfect. Our lives, our love, our future. But as I sat there, sipping my coffee, enjoying the warmth of a typical evening at home, he dropped the bombshell. I want a divorce. The words felt like they hit me like a ton of bricks. I had to blink several times, not fully understanding what he was saying. Divorce? What was he talking about? We had been through so much together. The good times, the struggles, the laughter, the tears. We had always worked things out. How could he suddenly want to throw it all away? For a moment, the world seemed to stop. The silence stretched between us, unbearable and thick. I could hear the ticking of the clock on the wall, the quiet hum of the refrigerator. Everything seemed normal on the outside, but my insides felt like they were in freefall. This couldn't be happening. "Are you serious?" I finally asked, my voice trembling. He looked at me, his face blank like he had already made up his mind. "I've thought about it for a while now. I think we've just grown apart, and I don't see things getting better." I felt like the ground was slipping from under me. 15 years, and he was saying we had grown apart? 15 years of memories, of partnership, of shared dreams, and now he was telling me it was over. "No," I said, my voice firm but filled with disbelief. "This can't be happening. We've been through so much together. You can't just decide this without even trying to work things out." I could see the resolve in his eyes, but something in me refused to believe it. I wasn't ready to let go. I wasn't ready to face the idea that everything we had built, everything we had shared, could be so easily destroyed by a few words. My heart was racing, and my thoughts were a blur. I had to hold on to something. I had to fight for us. "I know it's hard," he said, his voice now tinged with exhaustion. "But I've been unhappy for a long time. I don't think there's anything left for us to fix." His words cut deep, like a knife through everything I thought was secure. Unhappy? For how long? I hadn't seen this coming. Had I missed the signs? I could feel the tears starting to sting at the back of my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. This wasn't how I wanted our story to end. "You can't just throw away everything like this," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, but my emotions were slipping. "We made vows. We promised each other forever. Don't you remember that?" He paused for a long moment, and then his eyes softened slightly, as if a part of him was regretting the words he had just said. But it didn't matter. It was already out there. The damage was done. And I didn't know how to fix it. The silence in the room was deafening, almost suffocating. I could hear the sound of my heart beating loudly in my ears, each beat a reminder of the shock I was trying to process. 15 years. 15 years of love, laughter, and shared dreams. And now, suddenly, it was all crumbling. I wanted to scream, to ask him how he could do this to us, to me. What had happened to the man I married? The man who had vowed to stand by me no matter what, the man who had promised me forever. Where had he gone? But instead of screaming, I found myself sitting there, frozen. I looked at him, my husband, the father of my children, the man I thought I knew, and I searched his eyes for some sign, some glimmer of hope that this was just a mistake, that maybe he hadn't meant it, that maybe we could fix this. "I need you to explain," I whispered, almost pleading. "Why now? Why are you doing this? I thought we were happy. I thought we had a good life together." His expression softened for just a moment, like he was fighting with himself, but then the walls came back up. He crossed his arms over his chest, as if he were trying to protect himself from whatever emotion he was feeling. "I don't know how to explain it. It's not about you, it's about me. I've felt this way for a while. I didn't want to hurt you, but I can't keep pretending that everything is fine when it's not." I stood up suddenly, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. The room suddenly felt so small, so stifling. I couldn't breathe. "Pretending? We've never pretended. If something was wrong, you should have said something. Why didn't you tell me? Why did you wait until now?" He sighed, the weight of his own emotions heavy in the air. I didn't want to hurt you, okay? I thought it would pass, that I could work through it. But I can't. I don't love you the way I used to. I can't keep lying to myself or to you. The words hit me like a slap to the face. I didn't love you the way I used to. How could he say that? How could he say he didn't love me after all this time? We had built a life together. We had children, memories, a future, and now, in a single sentence, he was telling me that it didn't matter, that I didn't matter. Tears welled up in my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. I wasn't going to break down in front of him, not like this. I wasn't going to let him see me crumble. So, that's it? You've just decided it's over? 15 years of marriage? Just gone? Just like that? His face faltered for a brief moment, like he felt a shred of guilt, but it quickly disappeared. "I'm sorry," he muttered, as if it was some sort of consolation. "But I think it's for the best." For the best? My mind couldn't process the words. How was this for the best? How could tearing apart everything we had built, everything we had shared, be for the best? I took a step back, trying to regain some control over my emotions. I don't accept this. This can't be happening. My voice wavered despite my best efforts to stay strong. You can't just walk away from 15 years. You can't just decide that everything we've built is worth nothing. This is not happening. He didn't respond. He just stood there, his arms crossed, his eyes tired, like he had already checked out. How could he be so calm, so indifferent? It was like he had already made his peace with it, while I was left here in the storm of shock and disbelief. "I'm not giving up on us," I said firmly, though the words tasted bitter in my mouth. "If you want a divorce, you'll have to fight me for it, because I'm not just walking away from this marriage, not without a fight." His face softened, and he took a deep breath, but there was no hope in his eyes. "I'm not going to fight you, Rachel. I've already made my decision. I think this is the right thing for both of us. We've been drifting apart for too long. This is the end." I shook my head, the words sinking deep into my chest like daggers. The end? Was this really the end? Was there really nothing left to salvage? "No," I said again, more to myself than to him. "This isn't over." I stood there, staring at him, the weight of his words still hanging in the air. The idea of a life without him, without us, felt so foreign to me. For 15 years we had been partners. We had fought battles together, raised children together, shared dreams and hopes. And now, it felt like he was just giving up on everything we had built. How could he be so sure? I had always thought that marriage was supposed to be about fighting through the tough times together, not running away from them. And yet here I was, standing in front of a man who had been my rock, my best friend for so long. And now he was the one pushing me away. "Why now?" I asked again, my voice soft but firm. I needed an answer. I needed something, anything, that would make sense of this madness. He looked at me for a long moment, his eyes tired, almost as if he had already come to terms with everything while I was still reeling. "I don't know," he said quietly. "Maybe I've been thinking about it for a while and I've been trying to ignore it, but it's not fair to you, to me, or to the kids. We're not happy anymore." I felt like the air was being sucked out of my lungs. "We're not happy anymore." Was that all it came down to? 15 years of memories, of commitment, of everything we had shared, and now he was telling me we weren't happy anymore? "Is this how you see me? As someone who's just been going through the motions?" I asked, unable to keep the hurt from creeping into my voice. "Do you really think that everything we've shared, all the love, all the years, can just be thrown away because of some rough patches?" He looked away, unable to meet my eyes. "It's not just the rough patches. It's everything. We've been drifting for so long. I can feel it. I don't think we're the same people we were when we first got married." "We've changed, yes," I said, my voice shaking slightly. "But isn't that what marriage is about? Growing together, evolving? People change. It's how we deal with those changes that matter." I could feel the tears threatening to spill, but I refused to let them. I had to stay strong. If he wasn't going to fight for us, I would. I would fight for everything we had. I wasn't ready to let go. I couldn't be. You can't just walk away from all of this, I said, my voice now steady, even though my insides were churning. We owe it to each other to try, to work through whatever is going on. You owe it to us. We owe it to our children. His face softened, but he still didn't reach out. He didn't even try to comfort me. The distance between us felt so wide now, and I wasn't sure if there was any bridge left to cross. I'm sorry, Rachel, he said quietly, but there was no warmth in his words. I really am. But this is how I feel. I've thought about it long and hard, and I think it's time for both of us to move on. The words hit me like a slap, each one landing harder than the last. Move on. How could he say that, after everything we'd been through, after everything we had shared? I don't believe you, I whispered, my chest tightening. I don't believe you've given up. I don't believe that this is the end. You're just scared, and you're making a huge mistake. He took a step back, his face hardening again. Maybe I am scared, but that's not going to change how I feel. I think it's time we face the truth. I shook my head, refusing to accept it. This couldn't be our truth. This wasn't how our story was supposed to end. There had to be more to it than this. There had to be. I'm not giving up on us, I said firmly, my voice shaking but resolute. Not yet. I won't just walk away from this marriage. I won't let you throw it away without a fight. He stared at me, and I could see the conflict in his eyes. Part of him wanted to fight, I could tell. But the other part, the part that had already made peace with his decision, was too strong. He didn't want to fight anymore. You don't get to decide that for me, Rachel, he said, his voice low but final. I've made my choice. And in that moment, I realized that the battle I was fighting wasn't just against him. It was against myself. I was fighting for something I wasn't sure he even wanted anymore. Maybe all these years, I had been holding on to something that he had already let go of, but I wasn't ready to accept that. Not yet. I turned away from him, walking toward the door, needing space to think, needing a breath of fresh air to clear my mind. I had to make a decision. I had to figure out whether I was going to let him go or whether I was going to fight for what was left. As I opened the door, I glanced back at him one last time. I'm not giving up on us, I said, my voice filled with quiet determination. You may think you're done, but I'm not. And I'm not going to let you just walk away without giving this everything we've got. I walked out into the cool night air, trying to clear my mind. My hands were shaking, my chest tight with emotion. I couldn't just go back inside and pretend that everything was fine after what had just happened. How could he give up on us? How could he just throw away 15 years of marriage like they meant nothing? I walked aimlessly down the street, trying to breathe, trying to make sense of the whirlwind in my head. The streetlights cast long shadows across the pavement, and the world around me felt still, like everything was frozen in time. My mind was racing, 100 different thoughts, emotions, and fears running through me at once. What was I supposed to do now? I knew I couldn't just ignore what he had said. The words had been clear. He was done. He didn't want to try anymore, but I couldn't accept that. Not without a fight. I had to try. I had to show him that I wasn't willing to give up on our family, on us. I found myself at the park near our house, the one we used to visit together when the kids were younger. It felt like another lifetime ago, a time when we were happy, when we were a family. I sat on one of the swings, the familiar creak of the chain bringing a strange sense of comfort. The world around me seemed so distant, so quiet. I closed my eyes, thinking back on all the good times, the years we had spent together. How had we gotten here? The sound of footsteps approaching broke my thoughts, and I turned to see Liam, my older brother, walking toward me. He had always been there for me, even when I didn't know I needed him. His face softened when he saw me, and he walked over to sit next to me on the swing. Rachel, are you okay? His voice was calm, but his eyes were filled with concern. I took a deep breath, the weight of everything I was carrying suddenly feeling too heavy to bear. No, Liam, I said, my voice trembling slightly. I'm not okay. I don't know what to do anymore. He's giving up on us. He wants a divorce. Liam didn't say anything for a long time. He just sat there quietly, listening. After a moment, he spoke softly. Sometimes people make decisions when they're scared, when they're hurting. Maybe he's scared of the unknown, scared of change, but that doesn't mean you have to accept it. It doesn't mean you have to give up on him if you're not ready. I wiped my eyes, trying to fight back the tears that were threatening to spill. But what if it's too late? What if we've already drifted so far apart that there's nothing left to fix? You don't know that, he replied, his voice firm. Don't let him make that decision for you. Don't let him walk away without knowing that you fought for what you both had. You deserve to fight for your marriage, Rachel. If you still love him, and if you're willing to try, then fight. But don't let him take the easy way out. I stared at him, the weight of his words sinking in. I couldn't just let it end like this. I had loved him, and I still loved him. I wasn't ready to walk away. Maybe I was scared too, but I had to at least try to fix this. I couldn't just give up without knowing we had done everything we could. Thanks, Liam, I whispered, my voice thick with emotion. I needed to hear that. I needed to know that it's okay to fight for what I want. He smiled gently. You don't have to do it alone. We're all here for you. You just have to be honest with him, Rachel. Tell him how you feel, even if it's hard. You can't just sit back and hope things will get better on their own. I nodded, feeling a sense of clarity settle over me. I knew what I had to do. I wasn't going to sit by and watch everything slip away without giving it my all. I would fight for us. I would fight for our family. That night, after hours of thinking and talking with Liam, I returned home. The house was quiet, and I could feel the tension still lingering in the air. I walked into the living room where he was sitting, his face buried in his hands. He looked up as I entered, and for the first time, I could see that he was struggling too. "Rachel," he began, his voice softer now, "I never wanted to hurt you. I just didn't know how to fix things." I stood there for a moment, taking a deep breath before I spoke. "Neither did I said quietly. "But I'm not giving up on us. I'm not ready to walk away from everything we've built. I still love you, and I think we can work through this, but we have to try together." He looked at me, his expression uncertain, but there was something in his eyes that gave me hope. "I don't know if I can fix this, but I'm willing to try." I walked over to him, taking his hand, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like we were both on the same page. Maybe things would never be perfect, but we still had a chance, and that was all I needed, to know that we were both willing to fight.